Good morning, everybody.
Selamat pagi semuanya.
Apologies if you don't speak Indonesian. It was just important that that information was given. So all good. We're going to jump into the message straight away this morning. Are you ready to hear from God through the Bible today?
Semua siap mendengar firman Tuhan?
Yes. So have you ever had a moment in your life where God met you in an unexpected way?
Apakah saudara pernah mengalami momen di mana ada hal-hal yang tak terduga terjadi?
Where He got your attention
Di mana itu menjadi pusat perhatian kehidupan kita.
in a way that was so powerful and memorable.
Di mana sangat hal yang dahsyat tapi juga terkesan.
Well, we see in the story today that Moses had such an encounter with God.
Hari ini kita akan lihat bagaimana Musa mengalami perjumpaan dengan Tuhan.
And it was one that changed the course of the rest of his life.
Dan ini mengubahkan kehidupan dia sepanjang hidupnya.
Now, a little bit about Moses. He'd grown up with wealth and prestige
Musa dibesarkan dengan dalam kehidupan kerajaan
in the palace of the Pharaoh.
di tempat Firaun.
And so essentially he was part of the Egyptian royal family.
Jadi otomatis dia adalah bagian dari keluarga Mesir.
And yet he had an error in judgment, and that led him to flee from Egypt at the age of 40.
Ya, waktu itu dia keluar dari Mesir umur 40 tahun.
And then for the next 40 years, he spent time being a shepherd in the far side of the desert.
Dan setelah itu, setelah 40 tahun dia habiskan waktunya menjadi seorang gembala.
Now, as we read the Bible, we can read numbers like 40 years and kind of dismiss it quite quickly.
Kalau kita lihat 40 tahun tuh sepertinya kelihatan hal yang mudah.
It's like one sentence, you're like, yeah, 40 years.
Oh,
Okay, let's keep going.
Seperti satu kalimat, hanya 40 tahun, gampang ya itu.
But let's put it in a little bit of perspective. 40 years is how long I've been on this planet Earth.
Iya, coba bayangkan 40 tahun itu sama seperti umurnya Pastor Rachel.
My entire lifetime up until this point is how long Moses was a shepherd in the desert.
Iya, sejak saya lahir sampai sekarang sepanjang itulah perjalanan Musa di padang gurun.
And so this was decades and decades doing the same old job.
Jadi selama puluhan tahun dia melakukan pekerjaan yang sama.
A shepherd looking after sheep.
Memperhatikan domba-domba.
Now I'm sure that there were some really meaningful parts of his job.
Saya percaya ada banyak hal yang berarti dari bagian pekerjaannya.
Leading his sheep to green pastures.
Menuntun domba-dombanya ke padang rumput yang hijau.
To water to drink.
Minum.
Maybe making money for his family was exciting.
Iya, juga menghasilkan uang dari domba-dombanya.
And I'm sure there were moments when maybe some wild animals were trying to attack his sheep or robbers were trying to come and he had to fend them off and do like ninja style. Yeah.
Ada momen di mana dia juga harus melindungi semua domba-dombanya.
But you know what also there would have been? There would have been a lot of waiting.
Iya, ada banyak hal di mana dia harus menunggu, momen menunggu.
Waiting around for the sheep to eat.
Menunggu dombanya makan.
To drink.
Minum.
To poop.
Buang air.
It sounds a lot like being a parent right now for me.
Sama seperti orang tua yang menunggu anak-anaknya.
Imagine having to deal with the smell of those sheep day in and day out.
Bayangkan bagaimana dia harus mencium bau domba itu setiap hari.
And dealing with the stubbornness of his flock.
Bahkan domba yang keras kepala.
I don't know if you've ever dealt with sheep before, but they're not the most fastest or cleverest of animals.
Iya, kalau saya punya pengalaman dengan domba itu bukan binatang yang cepat maupun pintar.
And so you could easily look at these 40 years and think, wasted years.
Iya, kalau kita mungkin berpikir tahun yang sia-sia.
40 years in the wilderness doing the same thing every day.
40 tahun di padang belantara melakukan hal yang sama.
Seemingly Moses was not making a difference to anyone.
Sepertinya Musa nggak melakukan hal yang sama dengan orang lain pada umumnya.
And yet during this time of obscurity,
dan selama waktu-waktu itu,
this time of simple service before God,
tapi ada waktu di mana ini adalah pelayanan dia di hadapan Tuhan.
Moses was getting the very preparation that he needed for what God had in store next.
Tapi sebenarnya Tuhan mempersiapkan dia untuk apa yang ada di depan.
The task of leading an entire nation, the people of God.
Yaitu tugas untuk memimpin bangsanya Tuhan keluar dari perbudakan.
And as we read the Bible story today, we see that just this one moment opened up the door for change for Moses' life.
Kita lihat bagaimana ada momen di mana satu hal yang bisa mengubahkan kehidupan Musa dan seluruh bangsa.
And this significant moment for Moses actually probably started just as an ordinary day, just an ordinary day.
Itu semua dimulai dari hari-hari yang biasa dia lakukan selama 40 tahun itu.
Maybe on the way to work that morning, he got caught behind a herd of buffalo and he's just like frustrated. Come on guys, I'm late for work.
Ya, mungkin ketika pagi hari dia memimpin dombanya keluar, dia ketemulah kerbau-kerbau.
Or maybe as he was just about to shear his sheep, then it started pouring down with rain and he had to stop and he had to like take a rest.
Ya, mungkin ketika dia mau ngajak dombanya keluar, tiba-tiba hujan deras dan dia harus tinggal di dalam kandang.
Putting him behind time.
Banyak hal yang tertinggal dan tidak sesuai dengan jadwal.
It probably started out as an ordinary day.
Atau mungkin hari biasa dan normal.
And yet we see God meets Moses in an extraordinary way.
Kita lihat bagaimana Tuhan berjumpa dengan Musa dengan cara yang tak terduga.
And this encounter changes the rest of his life.
Dan perjumpaan Musa dengan Tuhan mengubahkan kehidupan Musa.
And I encourage us, as we read this story today, I want you to ask yourself the question, what is God speaking to you about? What would he say if he met you today? What mission would he give you?
Saudara bisa bayangkan kalau hari ini Tuhan berbicara pada saudara, kira-kira misi apa yang Tuhan bawa untuk berbicara pada saudara, tentang apa?
And let's be thinking, how can this apply to our lives?
Kita pikirkan bagaimana ini bisa diaplikasikan ke dalam kehidupan kita secara pribadi.
All right, we're going to read Exodus chapter 3 and we're going to start in verse 1. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. The priest of Midian, that's interesting. His father-in-law was a priest. And he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. And Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up.
Di Keluaran 3 ayat 1-2 dikatakan, adapun Musa, ia biasa mengembalakan kambing domba Yitro, mertuanya, imam di Midian. Sekali ketika ia menggiring kambing domba itu ke seberang padang gurun, sampailah ia ke gunung Allah, yakni Gunung Horeb. Lalu malaikat Tuhan menampakkan diri kepadanya di dalam nyata api yang keluar dari semak duri. Lalu ia melihat dan tampaklah semak duri itu menyala tetapi tidak dimakan api.
So we see here the angel of the Lord appears to Moses.
Di sini kita lihat bahwa malaikat Tuhan datang kepada Musa.
Now who is the angel of the Lord?
Siapakah malaikat Tuhan itu?
Does anyone know? Again, if we come across a sentence in the Bible, it's good for us to think. Maybe we might do some research, Google search good websites and see what is that? Maybe a Bible commentary. What does angel of the Lord mean?
Apakah kalau kita cari tahu siapakah malaikat Tuhan itu?
So in the Bible, we're not specifically told his identity, like really clear, this is who the angel of the Lord is. But we are given some clues to his identity.
Iya, nah banyak di ayat Alkitab tidak secara spesifik dikatakan siapakah malaikat Tuhan itu, tapi sering diberitakan bahwa malaikat Tuhan datang kepada seseorang.
And there's many accounts where the angel of the Lord appears, and the scripture shows us that the angel of the Lord often speaks as God.
Ya, jadi malaikat tuh berbicara secara langsung sebagai Tuhan.
And he exercises the responsibilities of God.
Dan dia menyampaikan apa yang Tuhan katakan.
And so we could say that the angel of the Lord is an appearance of God in physical form here on the earth.
Ya, jadi malaikat Tuhan itu muncul ke dunia sebagai malaikat untuk menyampaikan pesan Tuhan.
And so we can understand that Moses, as he has this encounter with the angel of the Lord, he is meeting God in a significant way.
Sebenarnya ketika malaikat Tuhan itu berkata kepada Musa secara langsung bertemu dengan Tuhan.
And what a sight it would have been to behold a bush that was on fire but was not burning up.
Dia melihat yang terbakar tapi tidak membakar bush itu.
Defying human logic and reasoning.
Kalau secara logika manusia kita pikir pasti seharusnya itu terbakar semak-semak duri itu.
Yeah, as we continue on in this account, we see that Moses did have a choice as to whether he would go over and look at that bush or not, or if he'd continue on with his jobs.
Musa punya dua pilihan. Apakah dia tetap melihat keanehan yang terjadi semak duri terbakar atau dia tetap melanjutkan pekerjaannya?
Moses could have easily said, "Oh, I don't have time. I am so busy building my sheep exporting company. I don't have time to go and have a look at that."
Ya, mungkin Musa bisa berkata, aku terlalu sibuk untuk memikirkan bisnis ekspor-impor dengan domba saya. Saya nggak punya waktu untuk melihat semak duri.
Or it could have been the opposite.
Atau kebalikannya.
He could have been so stuck in the ordinary and mundane of being a shepherd in the desert.
Atau dia bisa memikirkan kenapa hal ini sangat lain dari hari biasanya.
He could have thought, well, nothing extraordinary ever happens in my life.
Atau dia berpikir sebenarnya hidupku biasa-biasa aja.
Maybe it's just an illusion from being out here in the desert for too long.
Ya, mungkin saya terlalu baik berhayal karena saya terlalu lama di padang.
But we see here that God moves suddenly in Moses' life.
Tapi kita lihat bagaimana Tuhan bergerak dalam kehidupan Musa.
And we need to be ready as followers of Jesus to be ready to hear God speak to us.
Tapi kita sebagai pengikut Tuhan, kita harus siap kapanpun ketika Tuhan berbicara kepada kita.
We don't want to be too busy or even too lazy. We want to be ready. God, are you speaking to me? I want to hear your voice.
Jangan kita terlalu sibuk atau terlalu malas sehingga kita nggak bisa mendengar suara Tuhan.
And so let's read on. We see that Moses did have this choice. So Moses thought, I will go over, verse 3, and see this strange sight, why this bush does not burn up. And when the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am.
Keluaran 3 ayat 3-4, Musa berkata, baiklah aku menyimpang ke sana untuk memeriksa penglihatan yang hebat itu. Mengapa tidak terbakar semak duri itu? Ketika dilihat Tuhan bahwa Musa menyimpang untuk memeriksanya, berserulah Allah dari tengah-tengah semak duri itu kepadanya, Musa, Musa. Dan ia menjawab, ya Allah.
I want to stop us here and ask this question. I wonder how many times God has given us a burning bush moment, but we have missed it because we're a little bit too busy or a little bit too distracted.
Ya, saya mau bertanya kepada setiap kita, berapa banyak waktu di kehidupan saudara mengalami namanya semak duri itu terbakar di hadapan saudara, tapi kita nggak sadar itu terjadi.
And so Moses here takes steps towards the burning bush.
Jadi di sini Musa mengambil langkah untuk melihat dan memeriksa semak duri yang tidak terbakar itu.
He didn't just say, oh, that's cool, and then continued on working.
Ya, dia tidak hanya bilang, oh keren ya, terus pergi.
He left what he was doing and he pursued what he was seeing.
Ya, dia tinggalkan pekerjaannya dan dia melihat apa yang terjadi.
And I think in our journey of faith, we have to fight to not be lazy in our relationship with God.
Saya pikir adalah kita jangan malas untuk membangun hubungan dengan Tuhan.
Sometimes we can just expect that he's going to do all of the work in the relationship.
Kadang kita berpikir kalau pekerjaan Tuhan lah itu untuk membangun hubungan.
But
Bukan.
we are required to respond when he speaks.
Tapi kita lah yang butuh untuk membangun hubungan dengan Tuhan dan biarkan Tuhan berbicara.
We are required to take steps towards God just as Moses did.
Kita sama seperti Musa, kita perlu mengambil langkah.
As we do so, it shows our willingness, it shows our surrender.
Itu menunjukkan keinginan kita, kerinduan kita.
And so in response to Moses moving towards this bush, then God speaks to him and calls out his name.
Ketika Tuhan melihat respon Musa untuk dia keinginan untuk mengenal Tuhan, Tuhan memanggil Musa.
Moses, Moses.
Musa, Musa.
Now, did we catch how Moses responded?
Kita lihat bagaimana respon Musa.
What were his words?
Apa jawabnya Musa?
Here I am.
Iya, ini aku Tuhan.
Here I am.
Ini aku Tuhan.
Imagine if we woke up every morning and we said those words. Here I am, Lord.
Ketika kita bangun pagi tiap hari kita berkata, ya ini aku Tuhan.
Speak to me, your servant is listening.
Berbicara kepadamu, hambamu mendengarkan.
Use me, send me, God.
Pakai aku, utus aku Tuhan.
Let's be ready to respond as God calls our name.
Mari kita bersiap merespon ketika Tuhan memanggil nama kita.
And we see that as Moses speaks those words, here I am, God then responds to that.
Ketika Musa menjawab, ya ini aku Tuhan, jawab Tuhan adalah,
In verse 5, do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground.
lalu ia berfirman, janganlah datang dekat-dekat, tanggalkanlah kasutmu dari kakimu, sebab tempat di mana engkau berdiri adalah tempat tanah yang kudus.
What was an ordinary day became a sacred moment of encounter for Moses.
Hari yang biasa tapi menjadi momen yang sangat kudus bagi Musa.
And before God continues on this conversation with him,
Sebelum Tuhan melanjutkan apa yang dia katakan,
there had to be a taking off of that which was unclean.
Tuhan ingin supaya kita menanggalkan apa yang tidak kudus.
So God commands him to take off his sandals, his shoes,
Tanggalkanlah kasutmu.
which would have been covered in dirt and dust and probably some sheep manure.
Iya, karena mungkin kasut yang dia pakai itu untuk banyak debu dan sudah terkena kotoran.
He commands him to take off his shoes. This is holy ground.
Iya, tanggalkanlah kasutmu sebab tanah ini adalah tanah yang kudus.
Now, as a Westerner living in Australia before I came to Bali, it was very common for me to wear my shoes in the house. I know, you must be thinking, if you're an Indonesian person, you're like, what? You wore shoes in the house? That's disgusting. I did that for my whole life.
Ya, selama hidup saya sebelum saya tinggal di Indonesia, adalah hal yang biasa untuk kita pakai sepatu kemanapun masuk ke rumah, terlepas dari bersih atau kotor.
But I'm pleased to say I've seen the light. I've crossed over to the Indonesian way and the shoes will stay at the door.
Saya bersyukur saya pindah ke Indonesia, Tuhan memberi pencerahan sehingga saya buka sepatu dan sendal saya sebelum masuk ke rumah.
And even if I go to my sister's house, maybe I've got the kids that are like in my hands, I've got bags of things, and I walk into her house, I've got shoes on. I'm like, I know I need to put the kids down, and I'm like, sorry, as I'm walking through the house with shoes on. And she's like, no worries, they've all got shoes on. So it's all good.
Jadi ketika saya ke rumah adik saya, ketika saya menggendong anak saya udah terbiasa untuk melepaskan sepatu saya, tapi saya bilang maaf, padahal sebenarnya nggak apa-apa.
Yeah, and if I'm in our house here in Bali and I've forgotten something, I'm lazy to take my shoes off. I'm like, sorry. I just feel guilty now. Before, never felt guilty. Now I feel very guilty.
Sekarang saya merasa bersalah kalau sepatu saya nginjak ke dalam lantai rumah, padahal sebelumnya biasa aja.
Because we're recognizing we don't want to bring in the dirt that's on our shoes into the house, which is clean.
Iya, karena kita nggak mau membawa hal yang kotor dari luar untuk ke rumah yang bersih.
When we meet with God, He graciously shows us those areas that are in our own lives that are unclean.
Iya, ketika kita bertemu dengan Tuhan, ada kasih karunia di mana Tuhan menunjukkan hal-hal yang najis, yang kotor.
Areas that we need to lay down before Him so that He can cleanse them.
Hal-hal yang kita harus taruh di bawah kaki Tuhan supaya hidup kita dibersihkan.
Things like sin, unforgiveness,
Seperti dosa dan juga kepahitan,
bitterness, discouragement, anger.
kemarahan dan juga hal-hal yang membuat kita jatuh.
Have you ever had a time when you come into church and you're getting into the worship time, you're like, sing, sing, sing. Let's make me. That's why I'm not on the stage and singing. But you're just getting into the praise time.
Ada nggak waktu di mana saudara ketika mau menyembah dan muji Tuhan,
And then you start thinking about something you did this week where you made a mistake and you said the wrong thing.
dan saudara mulai memikirkan hal yang salah yang saudara lakukan sepanjang minggu ini.
And you're trying to push it away because you know, no, I'm here to worship God, but you're like thinking about this bad thing that you did.
Dan kita sebenarnya mau fokus memuji Tuhan, tapi terus muncul pikiran itu.
Or you come to God in a prayer time in the morning and you're like, yeah, God, I'm going to spend some time with you. And you start with a little bit of worship and then within a few minutes, you're starting to stress about something that you did yesterday.
Iya, ketika atau pagi pada saat teduh, saudara udah datang siap mendengar Tuhan, tiba-tiba masih ada rasa tertuduh dengan banyak kesalahan di sepanjang minggu itu.
Now, I recognize that sometimes that moment is the enemy coming. He's trying to distract us, discourage us, bring condemnation. He's trying to stop us from entering into God's presence. I recognize that. But actually, sometimes it's God in His grace saying, hey, Rach, there's a little bit of uncleanliness there in your life. Let me clean that up for you before you enter into my presence.
Ya, sebenarnya ada dua hal. Pertama dari iblis. Iblis berusaha untuk menjatuhkan kita dengan menuduh kita atas dosa kita. Tapi ada hal yang lain adalah sebenarnya Tuhan mengingatkan kita untuk bertobat dari dosa-dosa kita.
And so if this ever happens to you when you come to worship or prayer, then just take a moment and do as Moses did. Take off those unclean things. Bring them before God and ask Him to cleanse you.
Ya, yang bisa kita lakukan adalah tanggalkan itu, akui dosamu di hadapan Tuhan, maka Ia adalah Allah yang setia dan adil akan mengampuni kesalahan kita.
Now we know that Moses was pre-Jesus, before Jesus.
Jadi Musa ini ada sebelum Yesus datang.
We as Christians now have access to the finished work of the cross.
Kita orang Kristen saat ini adalah hidup dari kasih karunia dari pengorbanan Tuhan Yesus.
And as we put our faith and trust in Jesus,
Kita harus menaruh iman dan percaya kita pada Tuhan Yesus.
as we surrender our lives to Him,
Dan menyerahkan hidup kita kepada Dia.
we receive mercy and grace and forgiveness.
Kita menerima anugerah dan kasih karunia dan pengampunan.
The punishment for our sins has already been paid.
Hukuman yang harus kita terima sudah lunas dibayarkan.
Christ's righteousness becomes our righteousness.
Kebenaran Tuhan menjadi kebenarannya kita.
This means that we can have right standing before God.
Sehingga kita layak untuk berdiri di hadapan Tuhan.
We are forgiven and we're cleansed.
Kita diampuni dan disucikan.
And so the gospel is such good news.
Jadi Injil adalah kabar baik.
And so we can be cleansed.
Sehingga hidup kita disucikan.
So as we come to Him and repent and confess, we can take off those unclean things and enjoy God's presence, enjoy time with Him.
Saat kita datang kepada Dia mengakui dosa kita, maka Tuhan akan mengampuni kesalahan kita.
That would be my daughter. Hi, Annabelle. Hi. How you doing? Daddy's coming. You being a good girl? Yeah. So Moses obeys God, he takes off his sandals, and then God continues to speak to him.
Iya. Musa taat, dia menanggalkan kasutnya dan datang di tanahnya Tuhan.
Verse 6, then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God.
Ayat 6 dikatakan lagi, ia berfirman, akulah Allah ayahmu, Allah Abraham, Allah Ishak dan Allah Yakub. Lalu Musa menutupi mukanya sebab ia takut memandang Allah.
We see here that the enormity of this moment becomes very real to Moses.
Jadi kita lihat momen ini menjadi sangat nyata bagi Musa.
He recognizes that he is indeed speaking to the God of his ancestors.
Dia sadar kalau dia saat ini sedang berbicara langsung dengan Allah.
And we can see with Moses' response, he's hiding his face. There's something about being in the presence of God that humbles us in a good way.
Ya, berada di hadirat Allah itu membuat kita merendahkan hati dengan cara yang benar.
And it is true, we absolutely have friendship with God, but we also still need to have a position of reverence and awe about how amazing He is.
Benar, kita punya hubungan yang baik dengan Tuhan, tapi kita harus menyadari dan mengakui bagaimana kudusnya Tuhan dalam kehidupan kita.
And let's continue on verse 7. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites. Don't know, that's Riz is a cool new word. Don't know if you know that word. Hivites, the Jebusites, and the happy little Vegemites. I have to say that because I'm Australian. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them.
Dan Tuhan berfirman, aku telah memperhatikan dengan sungguh kesengsaraan umatku di tanah Mesir. Dan aku telah mendengar seruan mereka yang disebabkan oleh pengerah-pengerah mereka. Ya, aku mengetahui penderitaan mereka. Sebab itu aku telah turun untuk melepaskan mereka dari tangan orang Mesir dan menuntun mereka keluar dari negeri itu ke suatu negeri yang baik dan luas. Suatu negeri yang berlimpah-limpah susu dan madunya. Ke tempat orang Kanaan, orang Het, orang Amori, orang Feris, orang Hewi, dan orang Yebus. Sekarang seruan orang Israel telah sampai kepadaku. Juga telah kulihat betapa kerasnya orang Mesir menindas mereka.
You know, this little passage of scripture gives us such insight into the character and nature of God.
Ayat ini menerangkan pada kita bagaimana karakter alaminya Tuhan.
We see here that God sees that His people are being oppressed.
Di sini kita lihat bagaimana Tuhan memperhatikan umatnya yang tertindas.
He's not blind to the injustices that are happening.
Dia tidak menyembunyikan pandangannya dan tidak buta terhadap apa yang terjadi.
He's not turning away from their needs.
Dia tidak menjauh dari kebutuhan bangsanya.
But God hears the cries of His people.
Tapi Tuhan mendengar tangisan umatnya.
He hears their cries of anguish and suffering.
Bagaimana Tuhan melihat penderitaan mereka dan tangisan mereka.
He hears your cries of anguish and suffering.
Tuhan mendengar tangisan saudara.
He sees the injustices that you're facing right now.
Dia melihat hal-hal yang tidak adil terjadi dalam kehidupan saudara.
And God responds.
Dan Tuhan merespon.
He is willing to bring a solution.
Dia bersedia untuk memberikan jalan keluar.
To bring the change, to bring the breakthrough.
Membawa perubahan dan membawa terobosan.
And so what does He choose to do?
Apa yang saudara pilih untuk lakukan?
Let's read on verse 10. So now go, He's speaking here to Moses. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt.
Ayat 10 dikatakan, jadi sekarang pergilah. Aku mengutus engkau kepada Firaun untuk membawa umatku, orang Israel, keluar dari Mesir.
This is the good bit.
Ini adalah hal yang baik.
Surprise, Moses!
Surprise, Musa.
You're it.
Iya. Kau ada di tugas ini.
You're the one, you're the only one. I choose you to go and set my people free.
Aku memilih dan mengutus engkau untuk membebaskan bangsa Israel.
Moses, you're my plan A.
Engkau adalah rencana A saya.
Now this is one of the biggest divine mysteries of God.
Kadang ada misteri Tuhan yang kita tidak pahami.
Even though He is Almighty God and in an instant could have set them free Himself.
Iya. Tuhan itu sendiri Allah yang begitu besar. Sebenarnya dia bisa langsung menyelamatkan bangsanya.
I can just picture him with lightning strikes, taking out all of the people. It's like, ding, 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 and then, be free.
Iya, kadang kita mungkin memikirkan hal yang di logika kita.
But instead of doing that, he chooses a man,
Tapi daripada melakukan dia sendiri, dia mau memilih seorang manusia.
a shepherd,
Gembala,
Moses,
Musa,
to be the one that brings about the change.
yang menjadi pembawa perubahan.
You know, this reminds me of the parable of the talents last week that Pastor Emmanuel just so brilliantly talked about.
Iya, jadi mengingat saya apa yang disampaikan Pastor Emmanuel minggu lalu tentang talenta.
The master could have invested those talents himself.
Sebenarnya Tuhan itu bisa untuk menginvestasikan talenta yang untuk dirinya sendiri.
He probably would have done a pretty good job of it.
Mungkin dia lebih baik melakukannya.
And yet he chose those 3 servants to let them do the investing.
Tapi dia memilih 3 hamba itu untuk menginvestasikan.
Now, I don't know about you, but I find it hard to let someone else do something that I know I can do quite well myself.
Iya. Kadang saya
Anyone
temukan
else?
adalah sangat susah untuk mendelegasikan tugas yang sebenarnya saya sendiri bisa lakukan.
And it's especially hard if they don't do a good as job as what I think or believe I could.
Lebih parahnya kalau sebenarnya yang mereka lakukan tuh nggak sebagus yang saya lakukan.
I grew up on a farm in Australia and our motto was get in, get the job done and do it right the first time. That's not how we spoke, but I just felt like it needed to be spoken like.
Saya dibesarkan di pertanian di Australia, jadi ketika saya bangun pagi, saya lakukan pekerjaan saya dan lakukan hal itu yang pertama kali untuk diselesaikan.
And so when I think about the graciousness of God, that he would include us in his plan and purposes, it blows my mind.
Iya, yang saya takjub dengan pikiran Tuhan adalah dia mau mengikut sertakan kita yang lemah dan kurang ini untuk melakukan pekerjaannya.
And it's hard to comprehend why, God, why would you do that?
Kadang kita berpikir, kenapa sih Tuhan mau melakukan hal itu?
When I get to these moments, I often think about what it's like with me and my children.
Kadang saya juga berpikir bagaimana dengan saya dan anak-anak saya.
And it gives me a little bit more understanding, not a full understanding, but I can sort of capture things more than when I did when I was a single woman.
Ya, jadi saya bisa menangkap maksud Tuhan ketika saya sudah menjadi seorang ibu.
We have 2 toddlers,
Saya punya 2 anak.
and often they will want to help if I'm cleaning up mess. So I've got the broom and sweeping. They're like, Mummy, can I help? They're trying to grab the broom off me so they can sweep,
Ya, jadi ketika saya membersihkan kotoran di rumah, anak-anak saya ini mau menolong.
which is a nice thought, Lena, because usually they're the ones that have made the mess. So the fact that they're helping is
Sebenarnya
actually
mereka
like,
merasa bertanggung jawab karena mereka yang buat kotor.
thank you, thank you. Now I let them help, even though usually they end up making more mess.
Iya. Saya menghargai maksud mereka, tapi sebenarnya lebih berantakan setelah mereka bantu.
They're using that broom and they're pushing it all over into the spaces that I can't get it back from.
Iya, ketika saya udah kumpulkan malah
And you're like,
perceceran.
whoa, watch out for the, you're trying to not knock the TV down or anything like that.
Iya, malah lebih kacau.
And you kind of wonder, why do I bother, you know?
Iya, kadang kita pikir, ngapain gue pusing gitu.
But the look on their little faces when we've finished the job and it's finished, the sense of pride that they have, like, oh, I completed that. It's really special to
Iya,
watch.
sebenarnya yang kita mau lihat rasa puas ketika anak-anak ini puas, aku bisa membantu mami untuk
And
membersihkan.
in the process of including them, they're growing.
Iya. Proses dalam mengikut sertakan anak saya bertumbuh.
They're learning skills.
Mereka mempelajari sesuatu.
They're developing these abilities.
Ya, mereka meningkatkan kemampuan mereka.
And ultimately, I know I'm going to be able to fix up whatever mess they might make in the process of growing and developing.
Iya, jadi saya ikut terlibat dalam membereskan hal-hal yang berantakan dalam mengembangkan anak-anak saya.
And maybe it's a little bit like that with God.
Mungkin Tuhan tuh sama seperti itu.
That he's maybe not so concerned about the end result, but more so the journey that we're going to be on with him as he leads us through and includes us in his mission.
Iya, Tuhan tidak melihat hasil akhirnya, tapi dia bagaimana melihat proses kita menuju ke sana.
And so I think it's important for us not to keep asking, God, why would you ask humans? Why don't you just do it yourself? I think our focus needs to be, okay, God, if you're choosing me, I'm going to step out and obey your voice.
Mari kita merespon, Tuhan, kalau Tuhan pilih aku, Oke, saya mau melangkah keluar dan setia melakukan apa yang Tuhan mau.
Just as we spoke about the talents last week, that I'm going to be faithful with the little that I've been given. I'm going to be faithful with what God is asking me to do.
Sama seperti minggu lalu, apapun yang Tuhan percayakan pada saya, talenta saya mau lakukan dengan setia.
And so we see as the story continues that Moses, he makes the same mistakes that we often do when it comes to obeying God.
Sama seperti Musa juga melakukan kesalahan ketika kita mau taat dengan Tuhan.
He starts looking at his own weaknesses instead of looking at the power and might of God.
Dia terus melihat kepada kelemahan dia daripada melihat kebesaran Tuhan.
And so here there's a range of questions that he asks.
Dan ini ada beberapa pertanyaan yang dia minta.
And I think we could probably see ourselves in these questions as we read them today.
Mungkin kita bisa melihat diri kita juga di pertanyaan ini.
Verse 11, but Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?
Tapi Musa berkata kepada Allah, siapakah aku ini? Maka aku yang akan menghadap Firaun dan membawa orang Israel keluar dari Mesir.
We see here that Moses has this natural self-doubt.
Kita lihat di sini Musa memiliki sifat alami manusia itu meragukan diri,
He's lacking confidence.
kurang percaya diri,
And that causes him to question God.
sehingga dia mempertanyakan Tuhan.
Maybe it was because of those 40 years of obscurity in the desert.
Mungkin karena selama 40 tahun dia di padang gurun.
Maybe that hiddenness had started to define who Moses thought he was.
Mungkin dia mulai mencari tahu sebenarnya siapa sih aku ini.
Maybe that started to define his worth as a person.
Dia mungkin mencari jati dirinya dan rasa berharganya sebagai seorang manusia.
And so he's questioning.
Sehingga dia mempertanyakan Tuhan.
And I think self-doubt for each one of us is one of those big obstacles that we need to get over in order to be able to walk in obedience to God.
Kita harus akui bahwa sifat alami manusia kita selalu mempertanyakan dan meragukan diri kita ketika kita berjalan bersama Tuhan.
And I love the response God gives to Moses.
Tapi beginilah respon Tuhan.
And God said to him, I will be with you. And this will be the sign to you that it is I that have sent you. When you are brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain.
Lalu firman-Nya, bukankah aku yang menyertai engkau? Inilah tanda bagimu bahwa aku yang mengutus engkau. Apabila engkau telah membawa bangsa itu keluar dari Mesir, maka kamu akan beribadah kepada Allah di gunung ini.
Here Moses is saying those words, who am I, God? Who am I to do this very thing?
Musa terus bertanya, siapa aku Tuhan? Siapa aku?
Have you ever asked that question before?
Apakah saudara pernah bertanya seperti itu?
And here God offers this powerful response.
Dan inilah respon Tuhan.
Who am I, God?
Siapakah aku Tuhan?
I will be with you.
Aku akan menyertai engkau.
He could have said, how can I do that?
Bagaimana aku melakukannya Tuhan?
I will be with you.
Aku akan menyertai engkau.
But what if this happens?
Bagaimana kalau hal ini terjadi?
I will be with you.
Aku akan menyertai engkau.
What if I'm not good enough?
Bagaimana kalau aku gak cukup baik Tuhan?
I will be with you.
Aku akan menyertai engkau.
What if I mess up?
Bagaimana jika aku gagal?
I will be with you.
Aku akan beserta dengan engkau.
When we don't feel like we're enough,
Kadang ketika kita merasa kita gak cukup,
we can take heart that God is enough.
ingatlah bahwa Tuhan itu cukup bagi kita.
When we feel weak,
Ketika kita merasa lemah,
we can take heart because He is our strength.
kuatkanlah hatimu bahwa dialah kekuatanmu.
He is mighty in power, strong in the battle.
Dia adalah kekuatanku yang akan melawan musuh-musuhku.
Whatever comes our way,
Apapun yang ada di jalan kehidupan kita,
whatever is ahead,
apapun yang ada di depan,
we can draw confidence from the fact that God is with us.
kita dengan percaya diri bisa bilang, Tuhan ada besertaku.
God adds to these words. He gives a promise to Moses
Dia memberikan janji ini kepada Musa.
that this was going to be fulfilled and it was going to confirm that indeed I am with you.
Ya, aku penuhi bahwa aku beserta dengan kau.
Mount Horeb, where Moses is having this encounter, is actually also known as Mount Sinai.
Jadi Gunung Horeb ini juga diketahui sebagai Gunung Sinai,
So this is the same place where Moses received the 10 Commandments.
di mana Musa juga menerima 10 perintah Tuhan di gunung ini.
And so we can be sure that God is faithful to do that which He has promised.
Kita lihat bagaimana Tuhan itu adalah Allah yang setia memberikan janjinya.
Yet we see that Moses still had some more questions.
Kita lihat di sini masih Musa ada pertanyaan untuk Tuhan.
Verse 13, Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask, what is his name? Then what should I tell them? And God said, to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you.
Ayat 13-14 dikatakan, lalu Musa berkata pada Allah, tetapi apabila aku mendapatkan orang Israel dan berkata kepada mereka, Allah nenek moyangmu telah mengutus aku kepadamu, dan mereka bertanya kepadaku, bagaimana tentang namanya? Apakah yang harus kujawab kepada mereka? Firman Allah kepada Musa, aku adalah aku. Lalu firman-Nya, beginilah kau katakan kepada orang Israel itu, akulah aku telah mengutus aku kepadamu.
I am who I am.
Aku adalah aku.
Now, as we read that statement, we can kind of sense, maybe think that it's a little insignificant. Like, did he even answer the question that Moses had asked?
Tapi kadang kita bertanya, sebenarnya Tuhan dia menjawab pertanyaan Musa atau enggak?
It's a little bit like when my son asks me, why do you need to do something? And then I say, because I said so.
Kadang anak saya bertanya, kenapa aku harus melakukannya? Terus bisa aja saya jawab, ya karena aku suruh.
But there's a depth to these words. I am who I am.
Tapi perkataan Tuhan, aku adalah aku.
There's a definition of God's nature.
Itu adalah definisi bagaimana karakter alaminya Tuhan.
That he is eternal.
Kalau dia adalah Allah yang kekal,
He's uncreated.
tidak diciptakan.
He's self-existent.
Karena Tuhan itu ada.
That God just is and must be.
Tuhan itu adil dan dia adalah Allah yang adil.
That he's the ultimate truth.
Dan dia adalah kebenaran yang sejati.
The beginning and the end.
Awal dan akhir.
Everything that exists is because of him.
Semua yang ada di dunia ini ada karena dia.
The God of all, the great I am.
Allah yang besar dan Allah yang besar.
Verse 15, God also said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation.
Ayat 15, selanjutnya berfirmanlah Allah kepada Musa, beginilah kau katakan kepada orang Israel, Tuhan Allah nenek moyangmu, Allah Abraham, Allah Isa, dan Allah Yakub telah mengutus aku kepadamu. Itulah namaku untuk selama-lamanya dan itulah sebutanku turun-temurun.
And so the word here, the Lord, that is referring to Yahweh, the word that we know as Yahweh.
Di sini dikatakan the Lord atau Allah, itu kita kenal sebagai Yahweh.
So Yahweh, YHWH
Jadi Yahweh itu YHWH.
was a word that was so revered by the Jewish people that they wouldn't even speak it out loud.
Ya, jadi itu adalah kata yang sangat sakral bagi bangsa Yahudi.
Instead, they would use the word Adonai.
Ya, jadi mereka sering memakai kata Adonai.
And so we translate it as the Lord.
Tapi kita menerjemahkannya Tuhan Allah.
And so here God is revealing himself to Moses as being the same God as his ancestors followed.
Jadi di sini Tuhan menyatakan dirinya sebagai Allah yang sama untuk mereka ikutin.
The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Allah Abraham, Ishak, dan Yakub.
And you know, their stories would have been passed along the family line all the way to Moses.
Di mana dinyatakan pada Musa bahwa ini adalah Allah turun-temurun dari keturunan yang pertama.
And here God is instructing Moses to tell the Israelites, it's this same God, the same God of your forefathers is asking you is going to deliver you.
Tuhan mau menyatakan pada Musa bahwa akulah Allah dari nenek moyangmu yang harus kau ikuti.
Verse 16 to 17, go assemble the elders of Israel and say to them, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me and said, I have watched over you and have seen what has been done to you in Egypt, and I have promised to bring you up out of your misery in Egypt into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey.
Pergilah, kumpulkanlah para tua-tua Israel dan katakanlah kepada mereka, Tuhan, Allah nenek moyangmu, Allah Abraham, Ishak, dan Yakub telah menampakkan diri kepadaku, serta berfirman, aku sudah mengindahkan kamu, juga apa yang dilakukan kepadamu di Mesir. Jadi aku telah berfirman, aku akan menuntun kamu keluar dari kesengsaraan di Mesir menuju ke negeri orang Kanaan, orang Het, orang Amori, orang Feris, orang Hewi, dan orang Yebus. Ke suatu negeri yang berlimpah-limpah susu dan madunya.
And so what a promise from God.
Adalah janji Tuhan.
He's going to take them out of this land of misery and suffering.
Adalah membawa keluar dari tanah yang membawa kesengsaraan.
He's going to deliver them.
Dia akan membebaskan mereka
and lead them to the promised land.
dan menuntun mereka ke tanah perjanjian.
A place flowing with milk and honey.
di mana dipenuhi tempat yang dipenuhi dengan susu dan madu.
And we see that with this promise comes a commitment from God
Janji ini datang dan komitmennya dari Tuhan.
that these things are going to come to pass.
Dan kalau hal ini akan berlalu.
All right, we're going to skip through to chapter 4, and Moses asked yet another question of God.
Musa bertanya lagi kepada Tuhan.
You can see this doubt. It's still there, still lingering, even though God's giving him these most amazing answers.
Di mana keraguan ini terus muncul walaupun Tuhan sudah menjawabnya.
Exodus 4, verse 1 to 2. And Moses answered, "What if they do not believe me or listen to me and say, 'The Lord did not appear to you'?" Then the Lord said to him, "What is that in your hand?" "A staff," he replied.
Lalu sahut Musa, bagaimana jika mereka tidak percaya kepadaku dan tidak mendengarkan perkataanku, melainkan berkata, Tuhan tidak menampakkan diri kepadamu? Tuhan berfirman kepadanya, apakah yang ada di tanganmu itu? Jawab Musa, tongkat.
And so Moses here, he's essentially saying, what if I can't do this?
Dengan kata lain, Musa berkata, Tuhan kayak mana kalau aku gak bisa melakukan ini?
What if I fail?
Bagaimana jika saya gagal?
What if others don't support me?
Bagaimana kalau yang lain gak mendukung?
What should I do then?
Apa yang harus kulakukan?
And maybe Moses is still haunted from that day 40 years ago when he made that mistake. Maybe that still haunts him, that he's going to be still dealing with the consequence of that sin.
Ya, mungkin Musa masih dihantui perasaan gagal dia selama 40 tahun yang dialami ketika dia mengembalakan domba.
And yet we see God gives him another profound answer.
Di sini Tuhan memberikan jawaban pada dia.
What's that in your hand?
Apa yang ada di tanganmu?
So he's referring to a staff.
Jadi dia menunjukkan kepada tongkat.
What is a staff?
Tongkat itu untuk apa?
What does it represent?
Melambangkan apa?
It represents the very thing he's been doing for the last 40 years, being a shepherd.
Melambangkan apa yang sudah dia lakukan selama 40 tahun menjadi gembala.
If you're looking at a photo, how do you tell if someone's a shepherd? Usually they're holding that staff. You're like, oh, that guy's a shepherd for sure.
Kalau kita melihat bagaimanakah seorang itu ada gembala, yaitu memegang tongkat.
This just represents so much as we think about what the staff reflects for Moses.
Jadi kalau kita melihat bagaimana tongkat itu artinya bagi Musa.
All that Moses had learnt across those 40 years.
Apa yang dia sudah pelajari selama 40 tahun.
All those skills that he'd been developing.
Semua kemampuan yang sudah dia kembangkan.
All of the waiting.
Selama masa penungguan.
All of those quiet nights in the desert chatting to God about his past and his future.
Malam-malam yang sepi di mana dia ada waktu berbicara dengan Tuhan.
All of this time of obscurity was preparation for what God had in store for him now.
Hal-hal yang dia persiapkan bersama Tuhan untuk hal yang di depannya.
And maybe that thing that you'd hoped you'd be doing now hasn't happened because God is still busy preparing you for what is ahead.
Mungkin kadang kita berpikir, kenapa Tuhan hal ini belum terjadi? Tapi ingatlah saudara, Tuhan sedang mempersiapkan sesuatu.
And I just find it fascinating that here Moses spends 40 years in the desert working as a shepherd.
Di sini adalah hal yang menarik bahwa Tuhan mempersiapkan Musa 40 tahun sebagai gembala.
In preparation of leading the Israelites for the next 40 years.
Di mana dia menuntun bangsa Israel keluar selama 40 tahun.
And I think God's got a sense of humor because a lot of that time was spent in the wilderness, leading the Israelite people through the wilderness, the same place that Moses had been working as a shepherd.
Adalah yang tempat yang sama di padang gurun di mana Musa memimpin bangsa Israel keluar dari Mesir juga.
Can I say that God never wastes a season?
Saya mau katakan Tuhan gak pernah menyia-nyiakan kesempatan yang ada.
You might feel like you're going through the wilderness,
Mungkin saudara mengalami padang gurun,
through the fire even,
bahkan melalui api,
through pain and grief,
sakit dan juga duka cita,
through change or disappointment or rejection.
perubahan juga penolakan.
But God never wastes these moments.
Tapi Tuhan gak pernah melewatkan hal-hal dalam kehidupan kita.
He meets us in the emotion of that moment.
Tuhan bertemu dengan kita di masa-masa yang sangat emosional.
He meets us in our loneliness.
Bahkan dia bertemu dengan kita di masa kesepian kita.
He meets us in our anxiety.
Dia bertemu dengan kita di masa di mana kita merasa
And
kekhawatiran.
he is there to help us,
Dia ada untuk menolong saudara dan saya.
to bring us peace and guidance.
Memberikan damai sejahtera dan juga tuntunan.
And so we see in Moses' life that God uses every season, good or bad, for his glory.
Di sini kita lihat Tuhan menolong Musa di setiap musim kehidupan, baik maupun buruk untuk kemuliaan Tuhan.
And God had been preparing Moses for what was his mission now.
Tuhan sudah menyiapkan Musa untuk misinya.
And I wonder if God has been doing that with each one of us, preparing us up until this point for the mission that is ahead.
Dan saya juga percaya Tuhan menyiapkan saudara dan saya untuk misi dia ke depan.
Now Moses goes on, Lena, 2 more times to question God. Please don't be like Moses. Please don't be like Moses.
Tadi sudah 4 kali dia bertanya, ini lagi dia bertanya lagi.
He's like, God, but I'm not eloquent at speaking.
Tuhan, gimana kalau aku gak bisa ngomong?
And then God's like, who created your mouth?
Siapa yang menciptakan mulutmu?
And then he says, no, just send somebody else. Maybe someone else will be better than me.
Iya, tolong utus yang lain, Tuhan, yang lain lebih pintar ngomong.
Please don't do this because it says as you read the scriptures, God got a little bit angry about this. But he finally gives in. He's like, okay, I'll send Aaron, your brother. He can go with you. He can be your spokesperson.
Ya, sehingga dikatakan Tuhan di sini, aku akan mengutus Harun untuk menolong kau.
And we see in the end that Moses finally accepts, okay, I'm not getting out of this, am I?
Nah, akhirnya Musa menyerah dan emang sudah ditentukan oleh Tuhan lah.
He comes to a place of obedience.
Akhirnya Musa taat.
And actually we see throughout the rest of Moses' story many times where he stands in amazing faith when he probably shouldn't have, that God had done a big work taking him through this little journey here.
Di sini kita kalau baca lagi kelanjutan, di mana ada momen melalui perjalanannya Musa berdiri dengan imannya.
Moses' life was forever changed in that moment of the burning bush.
Kehidupan Musa langsung berubah ketika dia mau mengambil langkah untuk melihat semak duri yang tidak
And
terbakar.
God's message was clear.
Dan pesan Tuhan sangat jelas.
He'd seen the suffering of his people.
Dia melihat suffering, penderitaan umatnya.
And he was sending Moses to help deliver them out of Egypt.
Dan dia mengirimkan Musa untuk membawa mereka keluar dari Mesir.
As we apply this message to our lives, I hope that you can see that God is always working.
Dan kalau kita lihat firman ini buat hidup kita, kalau Tuhan tuh selalu bekerja.
Even in the ordinary moments.
Bahkan di masa-masa yang biasa.
Going to the pasar and getting your vegetables in the morning with
Mungkin
all the other ibu-ibus.
Mungkin di momen yang biasa ketika saudara ke pasar bertemu dengan ibu-ibu yang saudara biasa ketemui.
Lining up in the big long line to get pentol is fuel? Pentol. Yeah,
ya.
such a long line for the bikes, isn't it? It's really those ordinary moments, God is ready to move.
Bahkan momen-momen yang biasa ketika saudara ngantri mau beli sesuatu, Tuhan bekerja.
And he always uses our experiences,
Dan biasanya dia selalu menggunakan pengalaman kita.
our seasons that we're going through to prepare us for the mission that he has next.
Musim kehidupan yang Tuhan siapkan supaya kita membawa perubahan.
Now, like Moses, we might feel inadequate.
Mungkin kita mengalami hal yang sama seperti Musa.
We might feel uncertain,
Mungkin kita mengalami hal ketidakpastian.
but God's response is always the same.
Tapi respon Tuhan selalu sama.
I will be with you.
Aku akan beserta dengan kau.
As we respond to God's call,
Saat kita merespon pada panggilan Tuhan.
we must remember that he is the great I am.
Ingatlah bahwa dia adalah Allah yang besar.
The same God who mightily delivered the Israelite people out of Egypt, he's the same God that delivers us from our own struggles today.
Allah yang sama membawa bangsa Israel keluar dari Mesir adalah Allah yang sama yang sanggup menolong kita, membawa kita kepada hal yang lebih baik.
And God is choosing us to partner with him
Allah memilih kita untuk berpartner dengan dia.
as we move forward in our obedience to God's mission for our lives.
Saat kita berjalan dengan ketaatan kepada Tuhan,
Let's hold on to that promise that God will be with us.
pegang janji Tuhan kalau Tuhan beserta dengan kita.
And may we be like Moses and say those words, "Here I am, Lord, use me, send me."
Mari kita sama seperti Musa, ini aku Tuhan, pakai aku, utus aku.